with a carbine. Magdalys had gotten so used to seeing the actress dressed up as princesses and fairies, or sometimes kings and demons. It was still strange to see her in a plain button-down shirt and slacks. Her big, wonderful hair was pulled tight against her head, like Magdalys's, and also like Magdalys's, it then exploded into a big, terrific bun just above her neck. It was Cymbeline who'd insisted they veer west after D.C. Tennessee had been the last state to secede, she'd explained, and whole swaths of pro-Union communities still resisted the Confederates in every way they could. And anyway, all the battle lines in Virginia were liable to explode into action at any moment, and the last thing they needed was to get caught up in a major engagement. Mapper's eyes had gone wide at that, the idea somehow exciting to him. But Two-Step, little Sabine, and Amaya had all shivered at the thought. Magdalys didn't really care which way they went, as long as it got them to wherever her brother, Montez, was faster. Montez had been wounded in a shootout at Milliken's Bend during General Grant's siege of Vicksburg. One of the other soldiers in his battalion, Private Summers, had sent a letter to Magdalys saying Montez was still unconscious and they were on their way to New Orleans. All Magdalys knew was that she had to get to him, had to make sure he was okay, be there when he woke up if he hadn't yet, whatever it took. Montez was the only family Magdalys knew, really. She'd been dropped off at the Colored Orphan Asylum when she was just a baby, along with Montez and their two sisters, Celia and Julissa, neither of whom she could remember very well. They'd been whisked off back to Cuba a few years later, and then Montez had joined the Union Army, and the Colored Orphan Asylum had been burned down in the draft riots, right when Magdalys had found out he was wounded. "I was worried at first," Magdalys said, "when I saw that light below." Cymbeline nodded, a grim smile crossing her face. "I know. These are the Great Smoky Mountains beneath us. An encampment could be anyone at this point." "You think they'd have pteros?" "If they do, they're probably not going to be friendly. The only ptero raiders I've heard of are on the rebel side, unfortunately." Magdalys glanced back, found the series of dark splotches in the sky behind them. Exhaled. "The rear guard still with us?" Cymbeline asked with a hint of laughter in her voice. Magdalys tilted her head, glanced back at the moonlight dancing in the river below. "Guess they in it for the long haul." About a dozen dactyls had shown up in the sky behind them just as they'd crossed out of New York City. Magdalys and the squad had been scared at first, but the dactyls were riderless. Just a friendly escort out of town, apparently. And then they'd stayed along all through the journey across Pennsylvania and Maryland, heading off on little hunting expeditions and returning with small mammals to cook and for Stella to munch on along the way. Cymbeline had dubbed them the rear guard, and they'd become a source of comfort to Magdalys as they journeyed further and further from home. The mountain forests opened up suddenly to a long swath of moonlit open fields. At the far end, a pillared mansion with well-trimmed hedges seemed to preside over the clearing. Magdalys shuddered. She knew exactly who'd been forced to trim those hedges and clear that land. Something churned deep inside her. She wanted to summon all the giant reptiles of the forest around her and smash those mansions into splintered wreckages. Then she'd set fire to the whole thing, and those flames would leap from plantation to plantation, reaping devastation and catastrophe like a burning tornado, with 100,000 dinos stampeding in its wake to finish the job. "You all right?" Cymbeline asked.